Hi, my name is Anna Pirkl. I'm a licensed marital and family therapist, a licensed advanced alcohol and drug abuse counselor, and a registered art therapist. And I had the privilege of being asked the most amazing question by the Youth Advisory Council for Self-Pay Families Connected. They asked me, how do you stay motivated through the school year? Oh my gosh. I mean, who can't use it, some additional motivation, especially nowadays, right? So really amazing question. As I began to think about the answer to it, and of course I deal with this every day, but I really wanted to give it some thought. And I thought, there isn't a lot of ritual around this. And we have a lot of ritual in our world around things we consider important. We have tons of ritual, of course, around connecting between ourself and our sense of spirituality, right? We have ritual on how we eat at the dinner table, where we put the knife, where we put the fork. If we say a prayer, if we're engaging in mindfulness to take in this food. We might do dinner before dessert. I mean, people might sit in specific spots, but anyway, we have ritual throughout all kinds of parts of our lives, but we don't necessarily have ritual around being a student, being an academia. And that despite the fact that most of us might actually spend a quarter of our lives being students. If you're planning on going to college and if you're planning to get any extended college years into master's programs, you are going to be there, into your 20s. So how do we create some ritual? So the first part of creating some ritual could be around your mindset, right? So as you're going to engage in the classroom or being a student, really trying to work on your headspace. What is my intent as a person being a student? And I would urge you to be careful with how you form that statement. Let me give you an example. If I ask you right now to don't think about donuts, most people are now going to picture the sprinkles, whether it's cream filled, they might even see the entire donut store. What is the selection? Brain does not do a good job with don'ts and no's. As a matter of fact, it has to work really hard with that. Okay, if I'm not going to think about donuts, then what am I going to think about, right? So you really have to get to a better statement about what is your intent here. And so I might move to, well, I want to eat healthy, right? And I would let you know that still sounds like work. I'm not sure I'm even on board. I'm already signing up for work and now you're telling me to do more work on my work. So instead, I might try to get underneath that. Well, really, I want to eat healthy because I want more energy. I want energy to have more fun, to enjoy life with my family after the work is done, right? So how does this connect to being a student? Well, I'm constantly looking for inspiration everywhere on how to keep myself motivated. And I remember when I was in my master's program, I had a fortune cookie and it really spoke to me. It said, fight for it, you will come out on top. And I hung on to it. And and when I needed it, I would look at it and I get myself started. Anna, it's okay, fight for it, go for it. So I would urge you to consider formulating some kind of mantra or affirmation to get yourself in the right mindset. Another thing that you can do is work to get your brain started. So if you think right now about riding a bicycle, you don't go from completely stopped to 10 miles per hour. You have to get those pedals going, right? And it's oftentimes the hardest part is in the beginning when you're starting to get them going. And our brain is often the same way. If we're now attending class or about to read in a book, one of the ways that you can get the pedal started before you open that book is to ask yourself, what am I about to read? What do I think I'm going to discover right now? What kind of math did we do last time do I think we'll be doing this time? And in that way, even with the smallest question, we start the pedals going, right? So once you get the book open or into the classroom, your brain is already sort of seeking that answer. Another thing that is somewhat of a gift from COVID is our ability to experiment with how we are our best learners, how we are our best student selves. So if you were at, for example, a traditional high school classroom, you couldn't necessarily sit on the floor during class. That might be considered disrespectful. Nevertheless, lie on the floor, right? But the cool thing is right now, you could actually do that. And that might be your best way to think, or it might be your best way to think to be even moving, right? So doing some experimentation around where you sit and how long you sit for. And maybe you like the sunny spot in the corner, maybe you need to be with some fresh air by the window, but doing some experimentation, not only around where you are, but also again with time. I know myself, I have a limited capacity, especially if I'm dealing with something I'm not too excited about reading. So I might be a half an hour person, then I need a 5-minute break and then another half an hour. Some people can go for 4 or 5 hours and then they need a big break. So doing some experimentation with what kind of time increment is good for you to concentrate. And then filling in those breaks, right? Do you need a 5-minute break? Do you need a 10-minute break? Do you need a 15-minute break? And what goes in there? And how do you get yourself out of the break? I was asked a really good question around, well, what if I start playing a game and then I just get sucked into it and I forget completely about what I was doing before? And I would suggest that you set some timers. Just go ahead and, set a timer, 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute, whatever you feel is appropriate based on your experimentation. And if you're a person that can't just start a game and then stop, again, what encourage you to do some experimentation on that, right? I know I have certain games that are exactly 10 minutes. They're perfect for me. Or if I study for 4 hours and I want to take that hour-long break and watch that episode on Netflix that I've been looking forward to. You could also fill that with art, with music, playing your guitar, dancing, you name it. And also movement. Movement is a really important one. A lot of research behind moving our bodies that is super healthy for us. So, whether that be some dancing in between or some calisthenics of some kind, maybe inside, maybe outside. Look, I'm already ready to go, right? And it not only helps us think better when we move our bodies, but it also helps with anxiety and depression. And a lot of people can struggle with their motivation because they start to get anxious or sad about things going on, right? So anxiety has this effect on us where it tends to make us feel trapped. And we have this sort of pinpoint vision, very restricted, right? And as you move your body, you begin to now expand that perspective and bring it back. In addition, I would also let you know that the way that anxiety works is that our brain is thinking there is a tiger in the room, right? And so it's giving us a lot of adrenaline and cortisol so that we're ready to fight. But unfortunately, there's no fight to be had. It might just be a quiz or a test or I'm not getting this that's making us nervous, right? So we need to metabolize that energy. So you doing a certain amount of push-ups or sit-ups or something that's healthy for your particular body can help you work to use up some of that excess energy that's not helping you concentrate in this moment. Depressed, on the other hand, can be feeling like you're in a black hole, and the energy is just stopped, right? Can't see the big picture, right? And again, movement still helps, right? Because you want to get the energy flowing again, right? So just putting one foot in front of the other, even if it doesn't feel good, just do it anyway. Another thing that one of my clients has shared with me more recently around movement is she has rediscovered the value of flashcards and that she does a great job with them if she's walking around with them and literally just jumping up on furniture and stairs and reading her cards is helping her brain work better. So again, doing some experimentation with movement. Another thing, of course, is incentives. Us as adults, we don't show up to our jobs without getting paid. I mean, there's a reward at the end, right? And this is your job. So finding ways to reward yourself, heck, on a daily basis with tiny little things and weekly, maybe at the end of the semester, right? I mean, it could be a little thing like, I don't know, lighting a candle, right? Or taking a bath or watching a show you're looking forward, but having something to look forward to when you're done, right? To just shut it all down as well. Music has been handy for a lot of my clients. Hear a lot about all kinds of great songs out there. I would encourage all of you to make playlists, okay? I want a playlist for when you're sad and you're trying to feel happy, when you're angry or overwhelmed, you're trying to calm down, when you're scared, unmotivated, right? Have different playlists for each one of those. In addition, you might have one that just simply helps you concentrate. I've heard a variety of things from people that sometimes classical music helps people study and sometimes heavy metal does. Everybody's very different. There's no way I could study with heavy metal, but maybe you can. I would also encourage you to try sounds, okay? Sometimes sounds like rain or ocean sounds, of which you can find plenty on the internet for hours long, can help you concentrate as well. Another thing that you might consider in your ritual is shaping your surroundings. I have a lot of clients, especially ADHD clients, that do better when they have company. And I know COVID has made this more difficult. Prior to COVID, they might be able to go to Starbucks or the library, and simply being around other people with their faces in books or computers helped them do what they needed to do. You can reinvent that though. You can do that even nowadays. I used to do something I called parallel yuck work. And I have paperwork as a therapist that I do not like doing. But I have lots of friends who have work they don't want to do either. They don't want to go through their bills or whatever it is they have to do. And we would literally sit across the table and do our yuck work at the same time. If you can do it, I can do it. Let's do it together, right? And then we might reward ourselves at the end by watching a little show or something. Anyway, you can still do it during COVID. We just reinvented it. I will call them up or text them and say, hey, I have yuck work, do you? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, you want to do it now? And they're like, yeah. So we're doing it together. We check in with each other another half hour, hour later. Are you done? No, not me. Or you want to do another half hour? Okay, great. And something about knowing that there's another person out there doing the same thing as you can really help motivate you to get it done. The other thing in regards to shaping your environment might be who you are with, even in COVID. So certain family members might bring out the best students in you, others might not, right? Your pets. I know so many people with their dogs and their cats that often feel much better if the cat is there helping them study. Snacks, another really important part of our ritual here. I was trained by a woman that helped me take my licensing exams. And the first one is 4 hours. And she made us promise that no matter where we were in the test, when 2 hours hit, we had to leave the room and eat something. Cereal bar, apple, some nuts, didn't matter. Eat something and walk back in. When 2 hours hit, I was panicked. I was behind. I knew the amount of questions I should have made. I was not there. I had read the same question 3 times, didn't understand it. And I left the room almost in tears. I ate an apple, had a cereal bar, didn't even finish chewing, ran back into the test chewing. And I sat at the computer and I looked at the question again, and all of a sudden I understood it. Maybe it was the body movement and simply getting up and walking away, but I passed the test. And she explained that our brains, especially when we are concentrating really heavily on something like a test, we run on glucose. Our brains need glucose to run. And so you are going to run out after a certain amount of time of concentration, or run low, I should say. And so having proper food intake at various intervals is a really important thing to consider. Having your goals visible in your environment could be another helpful hint for your ritual. Creating a vision board out of collage as to the future you want to create, the kind of house you might want to own someday, or where you want to live, or what your career is going to be like, and collecting pictures about that, magazine pictures, and literally creating a vision board that you might hang somewhere in your study space might be helpful. I know myself in my master's program, oh my goodness, at the end there at my practicum in Central Juvenile Hall and finishing my thesis was really struggling. And I found this little picture here of this woman balancing on her board and this wave coming crashing. And there was something about it that I could look up and go, okay, she's doing it. She's doing her warrior pose. It's all right. I got this on. I get back to it. So it's amazing what some visuals can do for you. I would also encourage you on that front regarding your goals for the future. If you haven't already, and this may sound silly, create a resume. I know you may think, wait a minute, I'm a student. What do I have to put on a resume? Well, you have at least your academic career, but many of you out there are doing amazing volunteer work. Take credit for it. And each time you type something in, you know, I did this today for the bunny rabbit rescue, celebrating yourself. Look what I did. Checkbox. So those are some ideas I have around creating a ritual. Another thing that I really enjoy working on with my clients is an emergency toolbox, or a sensory toolbox. We can call it a lot of things. And in that box might be things, again, visuals, right? And it might be literally a box, or it might be things that you've stored on your phone. So it could be videos that make you laugh, right? Other pictures, we've talked about visual. Olfactory, your sense of smell. There's a lot of wonderful aromatherapy products out there. You can go experiment with them. Whole Foods, Lazy Acres, you name it. There is some research that says that peppermint and mint helps people who are feeling a little nervous. I'm not nuts about those. I like the cedarwood. So I would encourage you, again, go experiment. You can smell them through a mask very easily. Auditory, again, we talked about making some playlists. Tactile. So a lot of people out there that are really enjoying the crystals and all of those rocks, river stones, right? And sometimes just having something in our hands can be helpful. One of those stress balls, or even some of those exercise clamps, right? Where you're getting your grip stronger. And then considering tactile sensations like what you are wearing, right? Some people can be good students when they're in their pajamas. Some people can't. Some people need to dress up properly to help their brains to function. So do some, again, experimentation. And then, of course, gustatory, your sense of taste. And again, there's some research out there about mint being helpful, having some, I don't know, gum or something else that, you know, helps you get your brain going and getting motivated. So you can use that sensory box of sorts in an emergency when you're really feeling funky, or you might use it interspersed throughout, right? And so just try it out and see what works for you. And then the last point I would want to make is, what's your buy-in? You know, what is this all about? Why do you have to memorize this stuff? You know, maybe perhaps things that you don't think you'll ever use again in your life. What for? And so you really have to figure out some things to inspire you around that buy-in. And one of the things I do with my clients is I ask them to make a list of 5 to 20 different careers they are interested in. And then we will prioritize them, rank them. And then we will literally reach out to at least 3 to 6 different people who are actually in those careers right now and interview them. What do you love about it? What do you hate about it? What did you have to do to get into this? What kind of education did you have? Any advice you have, right? And in that moment, we are not only networking, we've now got a name and a number, right? We've already got our foot in the door, but you might even have a mentor if they're willing to meet with you again. And you've got this tangible, real life person that you've now met who's doing this thing that you're considering you might do in the future. And so it gives you a lot of inspiration. It gives me a lot of inspiration to connect with them and see that this is a possibility. In addition, you can create a list of inspirational things to use when you need them. So if, for example, you wanted to be involved with the space industry or become an astronaut, right? You could make a list of different documentaries where they talk about people who have done that or the work that's being done by NASA, right? You could have movies related to that on this list. You could find virtual museums related to the things you're interested in to take tours, podcasts of people talking about it, and maybe even field trips. You might, you know, I mean, I know COVID's made it more difficult, but even taking a visit to the UCLA campus with your study materials and sitting amongst the other students walking along if they happen to be there can help us find the tangible future and connect to it to help us motivate and buy in as to why we're having to do the things that we need to do. So I really appreciate the opportunity to contribute and share some ideas. I would encourage you that I've shared a lot right now. And so please don't be overwhelmed by it. Maybe try one of these things once a week or once a month, or maybe there's 4 of them that you want to do now. It's only up to you what works for you, and experiment. I'm in it with you. We are all trying to find ways to motivate. Thank you so much for having me.